participants, faculty members, and distinguished guests. It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome you all to session 8 of this insightful 6-day faculty development program on building the next wave of Indian startups for advanced computing technologies. This session will focus on a topic of utmost importance: cybersecurity challenges for startups in the age of AI. And we are truly delighted to have with us one of the foremost experts in this field, Professor Sandeep Kumar Shukla. As we are all aware, the role of AI and advanced computing technologies is rapidly evolving, bringing about tremendous opportunities for innovation, growth, and disruption in various sectors. However, with this progress comes the ever growing concern of cybersecurity threats. For startups, particularly those working on emerging technologies, managing this risk while maintaining agility is a significant challenge. In today's session, we are fortunate to have Professor Sandeep Kumar Shukla, a leader in the field of cybersecurity, to guide us through the complex landscape of digital security in the age of AI. Professor Sukla's extensive expertise in both the academic and practical aspects of cybersecurity will provide invaluable insights into how startups can navigate the increasingly sophisticated cybersecurity challenges they face today. Professor Sandeep Kumar Shukla is the Program Director of C3I Hub, a technology innovation hub on cybersecurity at IIT Kanpur, and Rajiv and Ritu Batra Chair Professor in Cybersecurity at IIT Kanpur. He is an IEEE Fellow. He also co-directed the National Blockchain Project, the C3I Center, a Center for Cybersecurity of Critical Infrastructures at IIT Kanpur. Before joining IIT Kanpur in 2015, he was a professor at Virginia Technology in the US. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Professor Sandeep Kumar Shukla. We are eager to learn from his expertise and we look forward to an enriching and thought-provoking session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for staying so late in the night to listen to a talk. So let me first share my screen, and then I'll get started. So my screen here, and I will be finding out my. I find my. Okay, so I got my presentation. I'll get started. Sorry about that. So, so I was asked to speak about AI and cybersecurity. So, cybersecurity in the age of AI, and of course, as you know, that we have now this. We are now living in the times when we have these large language models or LLMs. We have we have various ways of using LLMs, such as RAG, for example, and we are seeing that AI can be used by both by attackers as well as defenders. Attackers can use AI for generating payloads, generating threats that are earlier used to require human expertise to build cyber exploits. Now with these AI based techniques, you can basically give a prompt in natural language, and we can generate exploits. we have actually done like as soon as ChatGPT was came out in 2022 and Gemini came out, and we actually did very early on. We actually showed that most common techniques used by attackers can actually be translated into payloads or what we call exploits using both ChatGPT and Gemini. And in both cases, you have to do a little bit of prompt manipulation, engineering, etc., but you will eventually be able to generate those. So what that means is that if you are a hobby hacker, if you are not a very well trained hacker, etc., you will be able to generate some of these exploits very easily. But that advantage, does not really mean a whole lot, because in the past also, even before AI, it was not that difficult to actually purchase exploits. It was not that difficult to find exploits from various dark web sources. There are hacker groups in Telegram and other forums where they actually share their knowledge, their ideas, and also code. So therefore, I do not think that the AI-based exploit generation is one of the major concerns. Although AI also has given another advantage to the cyber criminals. For example, when there used to be phishing emails earlier, you used to get an email from somebody who is saying that there is some attractive offer and you have to download a file or you have to click a link, etc. And people used to figure out that these are not very trustworthy or believable, and a lot of people used to avoid them. But now with AI, you can generate very good quality emails. Even you can actually generate these emails which are very customized for the target. The target person's social media and other things can be actually processed through AI, and that person's liking, disliking, hatred, etc., can be exploited by AI to generate a very targeted, very what we call spear phishing type of payloads or spear phishing type of emails, so that people fall for those. So those are some of the things, some of the ways that AI has given the cyber criminals, cyber attackers more ability to fool people to generate attacks and so on. But there is one other area where the AI is very useful, is actually to do the defensive side, right? So we can actually use AI to do, for example, threat hunting. We can see whether we are seeing indicators of compromise inside our own network, inside our own servers or other inside our infrastructure. We can use AI to actually do various things like cyber audit of an organization to see to measure the cybersecurity posture of an organization. We can use AI to create a data set which then can be used to train models to identify attackers. So there are a lot of things that we can use AI for in cyber defense as well. So it's not only that AI is giving a leg up for the cyber attackers. We are seeing that we are also seeing that cyber AI techniques. And when I say AI techniques, we do not just mean large language models like ChatGPT or Gemini or O3 and things like that. But we are also talking about small, language models like natural language processing models and the regular supervised, unsupervised machine learning techniques, vision-based techniques, and so on. So AI is rather a loaded term. There is, of course, there is a lot of buzz around the fact that these LLMs apparently are becoming more powerful and more towards what they call AGI, generalized, advanced generalized intelligence. But actually, there is a lot of opinions on this, whether AGI is becoming real, or is it just that these tools are rather uh, doing pattern matching, and therefore they do not have any innate what we call intelligence, but it looks like intelligence because it has certain behaviors that people mistake for intelligence. But what I want to talk about today, and since I didn't know what to talk about when one has to talk about cybersecurity in the age of AI, so I basically took one of the areas where we actually do a lot of work in and use AI techniques. So I thought that I would give you an exposition into that area. And that area is basically, hunting for advanced persistent threats. And how do you know which threat group is actually attacking you? So that is the area. So APT, or advanced persistent threat hunting and attribution techniques. So this is work done mostly by a set of students from my lab, and it's work under CTI. So first, I'll talk about what an APT is, or advanced persistent threat is. Then I'll talk about what are the what are the life cycle phases of APT, and then we'll talk about APT attribution, and then some of the attribution techniques that use AI techniques, and then we'll talk about a little more about what we are doing in terms of tracking and building our own capabilities of understanding various APT threat groups through a framework that we have developed called ADAPT. So an APT, so APT has three words in it: advanced, persistent, and threat. So advanced means that APT, normally we say that a group of attackers that are attacking our infrastructure, our data, our exfiltrating our data, or trying to disrupt our power supply, or disrupt our oil and gas supply, or things like that. These are very sophisticated attackers. So they really do not need Chat GPT to generate their payloads or their exploits. They actually know. They have done very deep tech research. They know the weaknesses or vulnerabilities in all kinds of systems, including Apple iOS, including Cisco routers, including Windows and Ubuntu, or other Linux and Unix systems, and so on and so forth. And they have the ability not only to actually figure out the weaknesses and also figure out how to exploit those weaknesses. They also know how to actually make their first move into the system that they're targeting. For example, they can use phishing emails. They can use a service, internet-facing service that is running on an open port, and they can actually try to send a malformed. They can try to send a malformed request to those services, and that malformed request will actually create a buffer overflow or some such exploit, and then it will actually make its first entry into the systems, one of the machines in a network. It also knows how to do privilege escalation. So it will try to the service that it uses to enter, or the account that it uses to enter the target system, may not be a high privilege account. So they will have to do privilege escalation. They know how to do lateral movement. So they might actually move from one machine that they originally compromised to the other machines, to in search of a better a better machine or better system in which there is more important data, or more which has a more important function. Then they also know how to evade detection. So they know how to turn off the antivirus or endpoint detection prevention system. They can also use rootkits to actually change the the binaries of major system commands and so on and so forth. So they can do all kinds of stuff. So they actually, that's why they're advanced, right? So, and they have, normally these advanced persistent threat groups are actually supported by their national government. So China, Russia, even India has also their APT groups. So these APT groups actually are very highly resourced and funded. So therefore, they can actually do a lot of stuff that normal hackers cannot do. Now, the other thing that these attackers do is that they actually have this, they do not just necessarily enter the system and just do some stealing of some data, or they just destroy some machine by wiping out their data, or creating an industrial accident by exploding a generator or something. No, they actually do not do those things. They remain silent and persistent in the system for a very long time, and then when they get, and they continue to contact their command and control servers through a covert channel from your machine to their command and control server. So when these command and control servers actually, tell them that now is the time to do something spectacular, only then they will do it. So they remain persistent. It often takes about 200 days for a victim organization to even know that they have been infected by an APT malware or APT binary, etc. So it's their ability to remain stealthy under the radar and persistent into the system. And they eventually their goal is to do great threats. They could actually exfiltrate important data. They can wipe important data. They can encrypt important data. And if they're attacking a control system, they actually can affect the control system. For example, in Ukraine in 2015, the APT group that attacked the Ukrainian power distribution system, they opened all the breakers, they disabled the UPS system, and there were 250,000 people without power in the middle of the winter for many hours. So that kind of thing also can be done. So that's the meaning of advanced persistent threat. Highly resourceful, highly advanced in their technological prowess, remaining stealthy and silent for a long time, and then they are actually, their main goal is to remain silent until they get command and control from their command and control server, and that command and control server, then they will actually activate their real action. So APTs, we are seeing that APTs have various ways of thinking about how the APT attack unfolds. So it starts with, like if you see here, selecting a target, finding and organizing an accomplice. Accomplice may not be a human. Accomplice may be a weak server, internet-facing application that is running with an open port, etc. And then creating and choosing the tool, like what will be the exploit that I'm going to use to actually enter the system. Then they will do information gathering. Then they will identify the weak spots and point of entry. Then they will enter the system, and then they will intrude. They will create tunnel for exfiltration of data. They will actually expand the access and obtain some more credentials. They can strengthen the foothold by moving from one machine to the other and infecting a lot more systems, more important systems. They can do data exfiltration. They will remain undetected, or what we call defense evasion, etc. So this is what they normally do. And there are many ways to model their activity. So this is what is called a cyber kill chain or APT kill chain. So it starts with initial reconnaissance. They try to scan your system. They use like scanner like Nmap, etc. And then they will try to figure out weaknesses in your system. Then they will do the initial compromise by exploiting that weakness. Then they will establish foothold. They will actually make themselves persistent. Then they will do privilege escalation. They will do some internal reconnaissance to actually figure out what is the structure inside the network. And then they will move laterally. They will maintain their presence as much as possible, continue to escalate privilege on other servers, etc. And eventually they will complete the mission. So this is very elaborate scheme, elaborate plan that the APT groups do. So some infamous APT groups here, Lazarus group, it is attributed to North Korea. So because now, how do you know that it is attributed to North Korea? Because people look at various things. So there are methods of attribution. We'll talk more about that. But here you see that Lazarus group primarily targets South Korea and US. US. Is there a question? Okay, so there are the type of activities they do, etc. From that you can tell, you can kind of attribute which country it might be belonging to. So Fancy Bear, for example, also called APT 28, it's a Russian one. It is attributed to Russia and from 2004. Their primary targets are usually US and European countries, and their weapon of choice is spear phishing. Equation Group is actually an US. Excuse me. Oh, and primary targets are Iran, Syria, Afghanistan, etc. They use spyware, for example. So Equation Group was uncovered back in 2014. And then there is a Pakistani one, that is Mythic Leopard, that is 2016. Primary target is mostly India. Now, there should be, it should be understood that these attribution to countries are not necessarily always correct. So they are actually based on certain evidences, but those there is no way to actually conclusively prove that this is Russian or this is Pakistani or this is US, etc. These are some of the hypotheses based on a lot of different information that people use for APT attribution. So APT attribution is the process for of finding out who is behind the cyber activity and why they are attacking us. And people have analyzed many different cyber attacks in the hello.
I think Sushmita Sarkar, your microphone is on. We have
Please
just
turn off
Shito madam, please unmute yourself. Shito madam, okay. And others?
We are extremely sorry, Professor Shukla. We have given them the privilege, assuming that they may interact with you, but then they are so casual. I'm extremely sorry. Please continue.
Okay. Thank you. So anyway, there are the way these APT groups are tracked is there are threat intelligence organizations around the world, especially mostly they are in US and Canada, etc., but some in Europe. What they do is that they actually go through all the attacks that are happening around the world. Then they try to figure out how the attack happened. That is, they figure out what are the indicators of compromise in each of these cases, and then they actually create a database of these things. Then they look at, for every attack, they try to figure out what kind of malware was used, what kind of weaknesses or vulnerabilities were exploited, what are the times when these attacks took place, because in certain geography, when it is night, certain geographies it is work hours. So then they also look at the targets, what kind of things are being targeted, what is the geopolitical relation of other countries with respect to that target country. They look at all kinds of things to actually figure out, they cluster these various attacks. They say these attacks seem to be coming from the same set of attackers, and these attacks are from a different set of attackers. So they do the clustering. And this clustering has given rise to about 130 different APT groups around the world that have been found to be responsible for various attacks, but their attack methods and time of work and geography, etc., they seem to match. So that's why it is kind of hypothesized that those which belong to a cluster are actually this, are the same operators, the same set of people. Sometimes they also have similarities in their code. For example, the malware that they use, if you analyze the malware in 2-3 attacks, you will see that they're either using the same malware or they're using a variant of the malware, but the code base seems to be the same. So all kinds of things are used to actually figure out the clusters. Once you have the clusters, you still do not know which country it is that is associated with this APT groups. For that, you have to figure out through other means like geopolitics and other things. So 85% of these APT groups, APT clusters, only about 85% have assigned countries, and then only a very small fraction of them has been attributed even particular organization. For example, so if we want to say this particular APT group is related to FSB in Russia, or this particular APT group is associated with this the People's Liberation Army of China, then you need a lot more information about the attacks and how it happened and so on. So that's the thing. Now there could be the APT attribution can happen in multiple different ways. One is obviously human. I mean, until now, there are a handful of experts around the world who are very highly sought after, and they are usually based in US and some are in other places, but mostly they are actually not only experts in cyber security or the cyber defense, but they're also very aware of geopolitics. They are very aware of geography of various countries, various kinds of historical relationships between countries and so on. And then accordingly, they actually do use various techniques like diamond process and all that stuff, but they actually use that. But then there is always a tendency to have a bias, subjectivity, and inconsistency in the attribution process. For example, most APT groups that we know about are actually belonging to either Russia or China or North Korea or Iran or Vietnam, etc. What that kind of says is that most of the attribution is happening from the US or US-centric the world, and therefore we do not know what are the APT groups that US itself has, or what are the APT groups that many European countries probably are funding. So that is the problem with the human-centric method for APT attribution. So one thing that we have done in the recent past, 2 years ago, is that we said, okay, let's make this human-centric process a little more granular, little more structured, and also there should be various different entities responsible for different aspects of this APT attribution process, and that's where we led to something called a Zachman ontology based APT attribution. So what you see in this table here, you see that there are multiple different models that are already existing. These are before our work, and this is where Q model, diamond model. These are some of the popular ways of doing APT attribution. Usually human experts use these models to explain how they are doing the attribution. But we see that many of these attributions have a little bit of a problem with respect to whether they are structured, whether they're granular, whether they're inclusive, and so on and so forth. So So what we have done in our APT attribution framework, we said, okay, so let's look at this an attack and how it happened, right? And then we actually asked these questions. And this is Zachman ontology is actually a very well-known technique in software engineering. So this is not something new that we have come up with, but the way of applying Zachman ontology in APT attribution is something that was not done before. So here we have like these questions, like what happened, how it happened, where it happened, who seems to be the person, getting affected, when, that is time dimension, and why is a geopolitical and other dimension. And then you will get these answers from various stakeholders of an organization. So for example, if your organization has been attacked, your executive of the organization, they are not going to do actual hands-on security analysis of what happened, what are the various servers, etc., was compromised, what data was compromised, what kind of vulnerability was exploited, what malware was used. No, executives will not go into that. So they will try to figure out why strategically their organization might have been attacked, and what in their organization might have been attacked. Then business perspective, like from the business perspective, and this is where, like, if I am a power organization versus I am a data organization, or I am an IT organization, whether attacking me, what could the attacker achieve? So this is and how they could achieve it, and where it could be achieved, and so on. And then architectural perspective. So how is the architecture of our organization has affected this? And then engineers and technical perspective is where actual analysis is done. And then enterprise perspective. So when you do all these different perspectives and answer these questions, then you basically get what happened, the inventory of what damage has happened from various perspectives, not only the damage in terms of malware or ransomware, etc., but also damage in business, managed to the enterprise, managed to the national level, in things, etc. Then it's the process flow, right? So how gives you how the attack happens, and different attack APT groups have different ways of attacking, right? So by analyzing the process flow, you can actually recognize which kind of activities was used, what kind of process was used to attack. Location is going to give you an idea about geography and so on, and then responsibility, like who might be, and this you can actually do analysis based on other past attacks and knowing where they are coming from, etc. Timing cycles will give you when, like whether it's in what time frame it was done, what time of the day. That will give you an idea about which country might be involved. And then end state objective. So this is where we analyze, like, what could be the reason. Is it for geopolitical reason, like if two countries are having some kind of a geopolitical skirmish, then it's a chance that the other country might be involved, and so on. So this is how the Zachman ontology was used, and we actually showed that a number of past attacks could have been attributed using this technique, and it would have attributed the same as it was attributed by human experts. So that was one thing. But then this is actually still very difficult to actually find experts who will be able to do this. These are manual efforts. These are not something that a common person, even a very good technical person, may be able to do. So we said, okay, so let's see whether we can use AI ML to actually do this, right? So because eventually we are talking about clustering, and eventually we are talking about matching symptoms, right? So when we use AI ML to analyze malware, we actually look at the malware's various features of the malware, right? So we do static analysis of the malware, we do dynamic analysis of the malware. Then we look at what the malware did to the registry, what it did in terms of file system, any kind of files they created, whether they're connecting to a command and control server, whether they're actually exploiting a specific vulnerability. All these things are become features, and then we actually use training, supervised training to actually learn how to recognize a particular malware class, right? And then we actually apply it to the new malware and see whether we can put it into a specific class of malware. Similarly, we can also do this for various other type of things. In case I do not have a labeled data set for malware, I could also do this by clustering, right? So I can do an unsupervised learning. I can cluster based on the feature. So then the question is, can I actually cluster these attacks, the complete attack indicators of compromise, what happened during the attack, etc. Can I actually create features out of them? And then I can actually train a model so that it can recognize when a new attack happens, whether it belongs to a particular APT group or not. But the problem that we first face is that there is no publicly available APT data set. So nobody is giving us a large number of attack information corresponding to every APT group. Right now, we know about some famous APT groups. We know about APT28, they did the SolarWind attack. We know about Lazarus group, they did multiple different attacks. So we know of certain attacks which are attributed to APT groups, but we do not have a fully fledged readily usable data set, publicly available data set. So therefore, I cannot actually use machine learning right away. So what we did was, our first job was to actually create a data set that is reliable and that is authentic. So if I want to create a feature vector corresponding to every APT-based attack, so that I can then eventually train a machine learning model with it, then I have to actually extract those things from past attack descriptions. Now, the only available attack descriptions we could get is actually attack reports, what they call threat reports. So various threat intelligence companies around the world, like for example Mandiant, like FireEye, like Recorded Future, these companies, they actually every time a famous attack happens, they analyze it. They often are called into analyzing the attack, finding the root cause, etc. So they actually generate what is called a threat report. So threat report is actually usually written in English or some natural language, and it describes what happened in the attack and what they found as tactics and techniques and procedures used by the attacker, what kind of malware was used, what kind of IP addresses and URLs were found as command and control addresses, what kind of softwares and tools were used, all this stuff, right? So but this is an English narrative. So the first thing we did for automating APT attribution, first thing we need is data. So we actually did a series of work, and all of this work actually use, in some sense, natural language processing and machine learning. So there are some work that we have done leveraging LLM also, but this is, in this talk, we are not talking about them. We are talking about regular natural language processing, regular machine learning methods. So first work that we have done is that narrative threat report. So we collected thousands of narrative threat reports from the past, and we said, okay, these threat reports are written in English. They are not useful directly, but what we can do is either we can read and extract features from each of these attacks, but the thousands of reports, reading them and extracting intelligence out of this in a feature vector form is quite a bit of work. So we use natural language processing, actually NLP techniques to actually do this. So we actually subjected all these reports to this tool that we have developed called TTP Hunter. And then this TTP Hunter let us construct a very large, reasonably large data set for various APT attacks. And then we actually improved this TTP-X Hunter. TTP-X Hunter is actually further improvement of this method, in which we actually use another tool. We'll talk about that, another AI-based tools, which allows us to actually extract TTPs from malware also. And then we actually we figured out, like, okay, given the malwares used in a particular attack, so instead of using threat descriptions, can we actually attribute the APT groups from the malware used in the particular attack? So that was the third work that we have done. And then the next work was the TTPs, just using TTP sequences from the malware, and to actually attribute advanced persistent threats using a technique of what we call a similarity index. The TTP Hunter was the first work. So in the TTP Hunter, what we have done is we said, okay, if there is a narrative report of threat intelligence from various organizations, we can actually extract features from them. And we initially did this for a number of reports by hand to get our initial data. Then we actually use that to actually create a natural language model. So this was a BART and Roberta model. So we have two versions of TTP Hunter. So in that we take the report, threat report. We did some pre-processing. We did some input embedding and some positional embedding, and then we actually use the BART. And then we actually could figure out what TTPs are used by that particular incident being described in the threat report. So far, we're using the 50 most frequently used TTPs as features. We could actually get a pretty good accuracy in identifying the APT groups from a narrative threat report. So if you describe your attack incident in big details to me, I can use this tool to give you with a 85% or so accuracy that which APT group it is, or whether it is a new APT group. That is, we cannot tell, we cannot match it with any of the existing APT groups that we know about, we're trained about. And then we actually figured that somebody has created a natural language processing model, secure BART, right? So secure BART is actually BART, but see, BART is a model for embedding, word embedding. And then if the language, if the embedding model is aware of cyber domain specific terminology, then it can actually do slightly better. So therefore, we actually used this secure BART, and we got better accuracy in this case. So TTP-X Hunter actually gave us a little more accurate precision and recall in terms of attributing the APT groups from the threat reports. So narrative threat reports we can actually use to actually get this. So and of course, if you are really interested in knowing more about this, so we have TTP Hunter was published in one of the conferences. It is available online, and also this was in the ACM Digital Threats, basically DTRAP. So DTRAP is a ACM journal on digital threats. So you can find this TTP X Hunter paper there. So you can actually go into the more details. So in this one, instead of just doing the machine learning models, we actually did what is called a pattern matching model. So what we did was similarity matching model. So in this case again, we took we extracted the TTPs from the threat reports, but then instead of using the TTPs as individuals, we actually placed the TTPs in a sequence. So we used a kill chain method. So there is a universal kill chain, which basically says how an attack unfolds in terms of various tactics. Tactics are basically sub goals of an attacker. So attacker may want to eventually, let's say, steal your data, but it will not steal your data right away, right? So it will have to first figure out how to enter the system. So they will do reconnaissance. Then they will do the once they figure out a weakness in your system, they will do what we call weaponization. So they will create exploits or payloads. Then they will actually once they make an initial access of your system, then they will actually do a persistence. So that nobody can remove them from the system. So they will write themselves into a startup folder. They will change the registry, or in case of Unix, they will write themselves in certain directories, so that when you do a directory listing, they do not show up. They will try to do defense evasion. They will try to do lateral movement. They will try to do privilege escalation, all that stuff. So all this stuff are done in a sequence. So what we did is that we said, okay, so when I am reading the threat report, or rather my natural language processing is reading the threat report, it is going to actually place them in a particular sequence, the TTPs in a particular sequence. And that is the sequence in which the attack unfolded. So for every attack, every story, every threat report, we can build a sequence that we hypothesize as what happened. Now, we actually then have a clustering technique, but this clustering technique is actually based on, usually clustering technique is based on various notions of closeness, various notions of distance, right? Euclidean distance or many other type of distance. But here, since we have these sequences, we say the two sequences have similarity if they have this kind of a similarity measurement. So we actually defined a very specific similarity measurement that is for our purpose, which we thought was so basically here is that how many subsequences of TTPs are matching between two different attack cases. So that's what is measured with this similarity metric. So with this similarity measurement, we did the clustering, and we compared this clustering against this other well-known similarity measures like cosine similarity, Euclidean similarity, longest common sequence similarity, and so on. And we found that this particular sequencing is actually getting us better precision and accuracy than the other measures that we have. So this also is available as an archive preprint. It is currently under review with some in some journal. So that also you can get from the archive. And then another thing that we looked at is that we may not always have a threat report from a particular attack, especially if it is an attack that is happening in your organization. So what we said is that, okay, fine. So what we'll do is that we'll actually check whether some malware was detected during the attack, whether the system was infected by a specific malware. Then we'll actually look at this malware, and then we'll try to extract the information from the malware and match that information against the malware used by other APT groups. And this way, we can actually figure out whether this malware is doing very similar action as the other APT groups, and that way we can cluster them. So there is a tool that we use, an open source tool called Kappa. Kappa is a tool that actually takes a malware and tells you the TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedures used in that malware. Because a malware normally doesn't just do one thing, right? The malware tries to actually do privilege escalation, tries to have the ability to do reconnaissance. It does command and control communication. So a malware has a lot of different tactics. So Kappa gives us the TTPs, allows us to extract the TTPs from individual malwares, and then we actually can use that to actually cluster the this thing. And we actually instead of clustering, we actually here we have used a one hot encoding and IDF, and then used a standard machine learning, the supervised machine learning model, and we saw random forest gave us better the best precision and recall score. So we have used 5,000 different malwares, of which 4,000 were used for training, 1,000 were used for test, and number of threat groups we got was 27 in the malware sample. So this malware was actually this malware was obtained by from various sources which are which attributed this malware to various APT groups. So this paper was actually published in October in IEEE TPS conference. So it's available in IEEE Explore. So one can actually find this. So that was about attribution and use of NLP and other techniques, machine learning techniques for attribution. Now, one thing that we have been thinking is that, okay, so attribution is fine if you know of an attack, if you or if you know of a malware used in an attack. But what if, but we in India, we do not have the capability of tracking APT groups. We are these APT group names, for example, Fancy Bear. It is actually a name given by Microsoft, or APT28. It's a name given by FireEye or Mandiant. So we actually, as a nation, are not doing enough to actually know more about what kind of APT groups are targeting our infrastructure, our critical infrastructure, our various sectors like power sector or energy sector or health sector or telecom sector or banking BFSI sector and so on. So we need some capabilities in the country to actually develop ways to actually figure out what attackers are doing. Now, one way to do this is obviously to wait until a foreign attacker actually attacks one of our real systems, like one of our banks or one of our power generation system or power transmission system, etc., or one of our hospitals, and then figure out the entire attack, what happened, what kind of malware was used, what kind of techniques and tactics were used, and so on, and then try to match it against the APT groups that we know about from other countries. We do not have a database of our own. We have all other countries like US and others have tracked a lot of these attacks. They have attributed. So I'm using that information and matching my attacks against those attacks. And then I am thinking that, okay, it is that group or this group. But what if the group of attackers that are attacking us as a country are quite different from the ones that are attacking US or other Europe or other countries? So in that case, trying to match our attacks footprints against those attacks that had happened in other countries makes no sense, right? Because they might not be even from the same countries or same APT groups. So therefore, we need to have our own database of attacks. Now, how do you build this database? Of course, if you wait, as I said, if you wait for attacks to happen to our real systems and then collect that data to create our database, it will take a long time. Plus, it is rather late because then until we have a good database, we cannot do any attribution. So one other way to do this is to use deception technology to create what we call honey nets. Honey nets are basically a replica of a real system that you create, and then you actually use social media and other things to give an impression that that's a real organization, real system, and then have APT attackers come into that system to attack. Now, the honey net should not be novice. It should be very sophisticated so that the attacker does not immediately realize, oh, this is not a real system, this is just a decoy. And therefore, I should not be doing anything because then they will know what I do, what kind of malware I use, what kind of tactics I use, and so on. So therefore, our honeynet system should be so elaborate and so realistic that the attacker should not be able to see that that this is happening. This is not a real system, at least until it does a lot of the activities. So it will do a lot of activities. After that, it might actually figure out, because it will not eventually go get the real stuff that they are looking for, and then it will realize that, oh, I have made a mistake. I was in a decoy. But by then, I will actually be able to learn a lot more about their behavior, how they do. And that will give me a database, and that will give me a way to create our own attribution mechanism. So that's the goal of this ADAPT project that we have done. So what we did is that this was done in 2021. So this is during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, and IIT Kanpur had actually built one of the COVID the prediction of prevalence of COVID, etc. So it looked like it was easy to make it believable that we'll be building, we'll have a center for pandemic studies, right? So we created a system called Center for Pandemic Studies. We created an entire elaborate network of researchers' machines and professors' machines and FTP server with some databases and all this stuff. And then we created a front end. We have created a presence in DigitalOcean, a VPN server through which somebody can access the system. And we made the VPN credentials a little easy to guess, etc. So people could actually get into this network. So we created this, and then we actually waited for the attackers to come. So this work was also published in the ACM Digital Threats DTRAP journal. So you can actually read more about it. But this idea was that we actually created various attack paths inside this organization. So that an attacker can come in and exploit various types of vulnerabilities and take different attack paths. And these attack paths ideas were taken from 3 APT groups: APT 28, APT 36, and APT 40. So these are the 3 APT groups which we studied quite a bit. And then we said, okay, so let's see if these APT groups, one was Russian and the others were Chinese, whether they will come in to actually do something here. And if they do, then we'll learn from their behavior, we'll record their behavior, and so on. We also created a chatterbox. It's a chat application between these various computers. And in that we actually automatically generated some conversation, etc. So therefore, the people might think that this is in the organization. This is the instead of using Discord or something, we are actually using this chatterbox as a way of communicating between researchers. We also, but this chatterbox actually clandestinely was actually a log shipper. So it was actually sending the logs in almost real time back to our servers so that we can analyze it immediately. So the attacker might not see that the logs are being sent, but because the logs were being hidden with the chat applications payloads and being sent to the server. So that was one trick that was done. So some of the attack scenarios that we received was interesting. So the reason why these attack scenarios are interesting is because we saw that one attack that stayed within the system for 22 days. So normally engaging an APT attacker for a long time is a good thing, because then we know the APT attacker's behavior. They actually do a lot of stuff, lot of payloads they bring in, lot of command and control servers they connect to. So you get a lot of information about the APT attacker. If the APT attacker immediately realizes that this is a decoy, then they will leave immediately. So now this particular attacker stayed for 22 days. The source of the attack was a VPN IP address from Hong Kong, but that doesn't mean that it was from Hong Kong, because VPN, it might be using a VPN service based in Hong Kong. They used Art Lucas remote access Trojan. They use some Win MTI backdoor. They use Cobalt Strike. They exploited SMB protocol. They finally used Pandora random ransomware. So most probably it's an Art Lucas family of attacker. They were not they are known to target high value entities such as government and educational institute, religion movements, pro-democracy and human rights organizations across Asia, COVID-19 research organizations also. So we saw this particular group in our thing. We learned a lot about them. Another attack scenario that we saw was using Tor nodes from Europe. So Tor is the onion router. So, but it seemed like most likely the attack was from Vietnam or Indonesia, because what they did was that they used eventually went to they stayed within the system for several days. They actually defaced the website, and defaced the website of Institute of Pandemic Studies. In this website, they used a C99 web shell. They actually deleted backup. They used White Wolf web shell. And also they had some Vietnam flag favicon in the page that they put their stuff. In the stuff that they put in the page, they actually basically are saying that COVID is not real and all that stuff. And then they also had some Korean pop song and Indonesian language in their JavaScript. So it was not. It was certainly from Southeast Asia, but it was not clear exactly which country it is from. So unless we get more attacks from this particular group, we might not be able to do this. So what we are concluding is that we have some capability to extract threat intelligence of APT groups in terms of tactics, techniques, and procedures. We have developed some automated attribution capability by leveraging threat reports as well as malware samples. We proposed an end-to-end APT attribution framework, and we proposed a framework for gathering threat intelligence about APT threat groups. And we can actually generalize this to actually, now we are planning to create like similar organizations like a telecom organization or a power organization connecting PLC and SCADA, etc. So to see whether we can actually attract other APT groups into this. So with that, I will stop here and I'll take any questions if you have any questions from the audience.
Is there any question from audience? Okay. Sir, I have one question.
Okay.
Okay, am I audible
Yes.
clearly? Okay. First of all, thank you, sir. It's a very informative, and we have gained a deep understanding of the cybersecurity. So, in our college, we have a stream on cybersecurity. If
Mhm.
students wish to work on projects related to APT attacks, how can they access relevant data online? Or is there any mechanism to make the APT data set?
Yeah, so they can contact, I mean, if they want access to a data set, they can contact us. I think some of the data is already on GitHub or something. I can ask my students, but
Okay.
they can contact us. They can also first read the papers so that they know exactly what they're looking for, because there are various things. But yeah, I mean, they can contact us.
Okay. And suppose if we detect any threat or APT group, then what we will be our first course of action?
If you detect that your system is being attacked,
Yes.
uh, well, first of all, uh, there are in order to know that you have been attacked, requires you to actually have the ability to detect attacks, right?
Yes.
So most organizations in India, especially educational organizations, they do not have a lot of visibility into their own systems, right? For example, very few organizations will have even antivirus on every machine. Forget about endpoint detection, protection agents, etc. So therefore, when you are actually saying that you detect an attack, most probably you are detecting an attack because somebody's server or something got a ransomware, and they got totally encrypted, and then their data is lost, and they are now figuring out that how the attack came, and most of the time this attack came because the server was not patched, and and the network inside the institute is not segregated properly. So everybody is using the same network, students and faculty, and even the servers. So therefore, if a student gets attacked by a phishing email and they download something, that thing can actually attack anything in the same network, including the servers and so on. So that kind of thing obviously is you are detecting something. Once the attack has completely completed its damage, then you are detecting it. Now it doesn't have initially you won't know that whether it's an APT attack or it's just a cyber criminal
Sir.
that is affecting you. So you have to actually ideally now educational institutes today in India are not under any regulation. Like for example, if this happens to a bank, the bank will be actually called to RBI, and then they will be asked to explain the entire security setup, their ability to detect activities, unwanted activities in their network, and they have to explain how actually the attack happened, and then they have to do a root cause analysis. So what the bank will do is that they will engage a third party, like a company that will actually come in, and they will actually
Okay.
do forensics, and based on the forensics they will do an RC, root cause analysis, and then they will do it. So in an educational institute, nobody is going to, AICT is not going to call you and say that explain to me why the attack happened, how the attack happened, and next time make sure next time it doesn't happen. I will fine you if it happens. It doesn't happen in the educational institute. If it does happen, then you have to be you have to actually do a lot more work in protecting your educational
My
institutes network. So right now, I do not think that you will be able to say whether when you see an attack, when you actually encounter an attack, that it is a APT attack until you actually do a root cause analysis. And for that, you probably will not have local knowledge. So you probably have to engage a third party. And they once they detect the root cause, then they can come to us or some other people who actually do attribution. Then they can do the attribution. But I would certainly suggest, we have done this. Our guys have actually, CTI guys have actually did a lot of work. For example, in Bitmestra. Bitmestra was having some attack problems, so they actually contacted us 2 years ago. Actually, after the Ames attack, they were very concerned, so they contacted us. And our guys have done a lot of work in securing the Bitmestra's network, their servers. They also have put a ability to detect unwanted activities on the main servers and the network, etc. So educational institutes will do such things when AICT will require them to do such things, or UGC will require them to do such things. Until then, they are actually sitting there as possible lame duck.
Okay,
Attacks can happen.
okay, sir. Sir, Professor Dipankar Chatterjee has some
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
Sir,
please.
Dipankar sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good
Sir,
evening.
it's a session that I got from you, and very informative it is. Sir, I have some little bit small question for
Yeah.
my knowledge. I want to know, sir.
Mm.
At first, what is how this APT's attack is differ from traditional cyber attack?
Yeah, so the cyber attackers are of various kinds, right? So we usually distinguish cyber attackers into like hobby hackers. Hobby hackers are young kids, or we also call them script kiddies. They actually learn something and then they try it out and all that stuff. So they are actually less formidable. They can easily be, if you have minimum protection mechanisms inside your organization, you can actually protect against them. Then there are hacktivists. Hacktivists are like anonymous group, etc. Anonymous group is pretty formidable. So if they actually target you, they usually target based on a cause, right? For example, environmental cause, or some fairness, geopolitical fairness cause, and all that stuff. If they target you, it could be quite difficult to protect against, even if you have a pretty good protection mechanism. APT attackers are actually nation state attackers. They are the most formidable and resourceful attackers. They are actually, they do not have any dearth of money. They do not have any dearth of technical know-how and training. They actually can buy exploits. So even if they cannot develop an exploit, like for example, you might have heard of things like Pegasus, right? So Pegasus is actually created by a company in Israel called NSO. This company actually has developed this zero day zero click vulnerability exploit, right? So they find exploits in systems which even the company that developed the system has no idea that such a flaw exists. And these APT groups often actually not only develop their own exploits, but they also buy exploits from dark web and other places for millions of dollars. So if you find a zero day zero click vulnerability in one of the most common applications like Apple iOS or Windows, etc., they will pay you millions of dollars to actually buy it from you, and then they will use it against their target. Normally their targets are also very not random. Their targets are very specific targets, government and other organizations. So therefore APT groups differ in that sense, like traditional. So when you get an attack, it could be from any of these types of attackers, and depending on which type of attacker it is, you have to actually accordingly do your actions, do your cleanup. APT attack cleaning up is quite difficult. They're rather persistent. They remain hidden, whereas a regular script kiddies attack may be very easy to clean up, even if the attack cannot be protected against. So that's the kind of difference.
Sir, as you said that the 0 days vulnerabilities, sir,
Yeah,
APTs certainly use this 0 days vulnerability. Sir,
yeah.
are using some artificial intelligence method to find out these zero day vulnerabilities, or that vulnerability, whatever found so far, has
Mm.
been injected into the APTs?
No. So the APTs are actually well, the term APT is used for many things, right? So APT is used for the group that is involved. APT is also used often for the malware that the group use. So if you're thinking of the malware, then yeah, zero-day vulnerabilities, exploit of the zero-day vulnerability is actually part of the malware that they actually send to your system, so that they can exploit that vulnerability silently. These vulnerabilities are often researched by themselves, but oftentimes they actually buy it and then use it. So they can their payload, that is, payload may be a malware, payload may be a one-time interaction with your server, whatever it is, or payload can come through phishing email. They will contain a way to exploit the zero-day vulnerability.
Thank you, sir. One last question, sir. Just
Yeah,
one
yeah.
for sir. TTP is as per the NIST framework. They have guided something regarding TTPs. What will be the what will be the technique, tactics, and procedure will be there, sir? Is there any guideline from NIST to protect APT attack? Is there precisely there is something, or it is time to time based, it will be changed?
No, so the TTP framework was developed by MITRE Corporation. They have a MITRE TTP, MITRE ATT and CK framework. They call it attack framework.
It is adopted into NIST framework also, sir. So I am asking,
Yeah.
is there any guide for guidelines that for the business continuity? Is there any guideline to oppose or protect from APT attack?
No, so this framework actually is designed for all kinds of attackers. So they are saying that you have to do identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover, and govern. All that stuff. They do not say that, okay, you only do this for APT attackers and not other attackers. But I'm not aware of any NIST framework that is specific to any APT attacks. I don't think they distinguish between APT attacks and other attacks in terms of securing your network.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure. Any other questions? I think.
Sir, Professor Dhrubasi Sarkar sir has some questions.
Okay. Sure.
Sir, 1 minute. Sir, Doshi sir. Actually, there is a question in the chat box. So should I read it, or madam?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Madam, can you read it?
Yes, sir. No, sir, you read.
I cannot see. Professor,
the question is from Parijat. Sir, could you please talk about Chatterbox and the use of it?
Oh, the Chatterbox. The Chatterbox is a software that was created by one of our engineers and Subhajit, and he actually. So basically, when you are creating a decoy system, you do not want the attacker. You want the attacker to come into the decoy system. You create the decoy system in a way so that it, if the attacker comes into your decoy system, it will believe that it is a real system for a while, so that it can do various, malicious things, so that you understand the attacker's behavior. But you do not want the attacker to know that it is a decoy system. So therefore, but the attacker, once he knows that it is a decoy system, it will try to erase the history of its presence. So it will try to erase the logs and everything. So what we have done in this case in the adapt is that all the machines, we want the logs to be transported in real time. So as the logs are being generated, we do not depend on the log to be retrieve the log after the attacker has left. Because we do not know whether when the attacker has left, whether the victim, whether the whether the machine will have the logs, because attacker might actually delete the logs before they leave, once they realize that this is a decoy system. So that's why we wanted the logs to be transported right away as the logs are being created on a regular basis. So now if we run a process that's just a log transporter process, then likely the attacker will certainly do a process listing and all that stuff to figure out whether he is in a decoy system. So with the attacker, when the attacker sees that the logs are being transported, the attacker will be suspicious. So instead of doing that, we actually created an application that seems like an innocuous application. It's a chat application, and then in the chat application, as the chat information is moving from one machine to the other, we are actually also transporting the logs with that, so that the attacker does not get an idea that this is a log transporter. So that was the idea in the chatterbox.
Subrata sir, I think one more from attendees have not seen, like Kaushik.
Kaushik Sarkar.
So please unmute him, Kaushik Sarkar.
Kaushik Sarkar, please, you are unmuted.
Okay, hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your talk. And maybe I have a very silly question. The question is, normally all the algorithms that is developed to protect the system is normally from the leading universities or institutes worldwide. And my observation is the attacker, even nowadays, if one attacker may be arrested in the US, average age is around 19 or 20, teenager most of the time. So my surprise is that so sophisticated algorithms developed by so many professors and researchers in leading universities that can be breaked by so immature brain, the age around 20. So why something is wrong somewhere maybe. How is it possible? Why it is going on?
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. So actually, you know, there is an asymmetry between the protector and the attacker, right? The protector has to think about all possible ways the attacker can attack it, and then try to plug those holes, whereas the attacker has to just find one, right? So there is that asymmetry advantage that the attacker has. But the other point here is that I have heard people say that we do not have a cybersecurity problem, we have a software quality problem, which means that the software around that is running all the systems, including operating systems like Microsoft and all, Linux and all, they actually were not developed using secure programming practices. Now people are talking about SDLC, secure development lifecycle, and DevSecOps and all that stuff. But earlier, people did not think about security as an issue, like in the early days of software development. And therefore, a lot of the software that we are actually using today, including various libraries and all that we include in our regular code, are actually having a lot of mistakes in terms of buffer overflow, in terms of integer overflow, in terms of concurrency bugs, in terms of memory allocation bugs, and so on, which are leading. Once you discover one of them, you are basically, and unless you did, and it's a race, right? If the attacker discovers it before you, then you are not having this time to patch. But other problem is that oftentimes these it is patching is like maybe the company has already patched it and they have announced it, but people did not pay attention that their system needs to be patched. The other issue that we are seeing in India a lot is that many organizations, especially government, ports and all, they are still using Windows XP, Windows 7, etc., which are not even being supported by Microsoft or giving patches. Microsoft is not even giving patches to them. The reason why they're using those is because they have some old application that run only on those Windows versions, So therefore, they are not able to change it unless they also buy a new application that runs on Windows 10, Windows 11, etc. But they do not have the budget. So there are various problems. Yeah.
And so
Yeah, go
even
ahead.
said the antivirus that's available in the market, also their cracked version is available. So the antivirus itself is hacked. So how it can protect us? So that is my always curious to know how is it possible? Antivirus already cracked, already hacked by someone. How they protect our system?
You mean the license? The license
Yes.
has been
So
cracked. Yeah.
so not on McAfee, whatever it is, the cracked version is available.
Right.
So antivirus
Right.
itself
Right.
is
So
cracked.
right. So well, the problem with the using the cracked version is that you cannot really trust it, right? So for example, suppose you install McAfee cracked version. Now, then if this version is actually a malware, but you cannot go back to McAfee and tell him that you gave me a malicious software, because McAfee will say this is not mine, this is a cracked version. In fact, it happened to one biological engineering student 3 years ago in IIT Kanpur. She comes to us with her laptop. She was actually using a cracked version of some molecule drawing software. I mean, she downloaded it. But that the attackers, the ransomware attackers, criminals, they actually know that people use this cracked software, so they actually replace the cracked version by a similar looking, but instead inside there was a ransomware. So when the girl actually downloaded that molecule drawing software and opened it, her entire machine got encrypted, and her entire 4 years of work, thesis work, was in that machine, and she had no backup. And this ransomware variant was not known to us. No antidote was known to us. So basically, she had to redo an entire work herself. So cracked version. So I think companies like McAfee and all, they are obviously are not doing a great job in terms of not protecting their licensing model, licensing agent. But I think that using the cracked version is exposing ourselves to huge attack in the future. So that's why uh, you know most people should not use cracked version even if it is available for free.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure.
Any other question? No. So I have a question that is, can I proceed?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So the discussion, like in today's discussion, the APT attack that you have mentioned, that is basically, can we have any like proactive measure? Like in most of the cases you have discussed about the reactive measures, whatever I understand, although I'm not from like cybersecurity domain, but the measures are possible.
Yeah. So actually, you have to do a lot of work to actually protect your organization. So if you follow the NIST framework, you are supposed to have cybersecurity policies, what your people inside your organization can or cannot do. For example, can they download software on their at their will, or are they prohibited from running software that is not whitelisted in your organization? Whether they are allowed to have a simple password, or you are enforcing a password rule that is very complex so that their password cannot be guessed. Can you impose restriction on sharing passwords between accounts? Are you putting restriction on how often the people should do backups, because there is a possibility of an attack and losing data? How often, how you are protecting your Wi-Fi? Is your Wi-Fi WPA3 or WPA2? All these things should be part of your cybersecurity policy, and the policy should be enforced. That is, if the policy is found to be violated, then the policy violator should be fined or punished or whatever. So this is part of the governance, cybersecurity governance. Then of course you have to also have cybersecurity identify function. Identify function identifies your entire network infrastructure and its vulnerabilities, the threats that are possible inside on your organization, the attacks that are possible in your organization, and then corresponding risk analysis. And based on the risk analysis, you can identify which parts of your infrastructure, servers, etc., are critical, which are less critical, and based on that, you have to put special measures around the critical ones, like so then you have to also have network segregation, that the most critical servers should be in a different network, which is not easily accessible by the regular network where the students and others are or regular employees are connecting. Then whether you allow the bring your own device, your laptop, your mobile to connect to your network. If you do you have a mobile device management software on each of these devices, such that when somebody tries to connect to your network, the mobile devices posture, the security posture summary can be actually obtained from the MDM. The MDM should be a mandatory. If the MDM is not running on that machine, it should not be allowed to connect to your network. If the machine does not have antivirus running on it, it should not be allowed to connect to your network. So these are all protection measures. Then you have to have detection measures. Detection measures means that you have to have what we call EDR, endpoint detection and response agents on all devices. You should have NDR, the network response. So network should be monitored, and all this information and all the logs should be analyzed on a real-time basis, and they should be visible on a security incident and event management system, or SIEM, such that you can actually generate alerts. And this is where AI ML will help you, because all kinds of things that are happening in your network and at the various devices, if you have to humanly read all this information and figure out whether something is unusual, you cannot do it, right? So you have to use some rule-based systems or machine learning-based systems to actually generate alerts on when some strange things are seen. And then based on the alerts, you have to do response. So there's a response function. So you have to know what to do and under what alert. You have to have a very elaborate playbook about what to do and what to when you see a specific type of alerts. And then you have to also have the ability to recover if the attack really happens. So all these things, NIST framework says that these 6 functions are core to any organization to actually protect against any kinds of attacks. Obviously, APT attacks can even evade these things, and they can actually happen. But hopefully, you will have a proper response and recovery function so that you can actually recover very quickly. So that's where the resilience, cyber resilience comes in. Cyber resilience is not about not getting attacked, but rather cyber resilience means that after an attack, how quickly you can come back to your normal state, and basically your elasticity, how elastic you are in terms of coming back to life after an attack. So all these things, like it's a very elaborate and very resource intensive thing to actually do cybersecurity. Unfortunately, in India, we are still not doing any of these things properly, except in banking, where RBI and SEBI are very, very strict. But in all other sectors, health sector, water treatment sector, transportation sector, we are not doing any of this. And education sector, we are not doing any of these. And we are sitting time bomb. Anytime attacks can happen. We have seen that happening in AIMS 2 years ago. AIMS took like a few months to actually recover to normal activities. So this is the kind of thing that that we have to do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other?
No, fine.
No, sir. Should
Okay.
I conclude, sir?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shukla, for that insightful and thought-provoking presentation. Your expertise on cybersecurity challenges in the age of AI has certainly provided us with a deeper understanding of the current cybersecurity challenges faced, especially in the age of AI. Now I request Professor Dr. Dhruvashish Sarkar, sir, to say a few words about the session and also conclude the session, sir. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Madam, like our sincere thanks and gratitude to Professor Sandeep Shukla, sir. As usual, it's an excellent session, and it's an invitation to you, sir. Whenever you will be in Kolkata, we want you to visit our campus. Last time you could not do because of your health issue. I'm sure now you are fine, doing okay. So, sir, next time when
right now I'm doing okay. Yeah, last time was in January when I had the stent.
Yes, sir. So we had the program in February, but again, you have joined online. You had joined online, and then like extended your best wishes. So we want you in our campus because we are having cybersecurity programs and we're planning to few courses. So that would be the blessings to the students and our motivation to us too. So thank you for the excellent session.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now I request Professor Amit Kumar Bhasre, sir, to give the vote of thanks and conclude today. Amit, sir, please.
Sir, you'll be happy to know that almost 170 participants across the country from 60 different organizations, they were attending your session.
Oh, wonderful. It's so late in the evening. That's even more.
Okay, so we come to an end of the 4th day of the 6th day online ATAL FDP on building the next wave of Indian startups with advanced computing technologies. Now today we really had two very interesting sessions like before by our two eminent speakers, Professor Dr. Amlan Chakraborty from University of Calcutta and Professor Dr. Sandeep K. Shukla from IIT Kanpur. Now Professor Dr. Amlan Chakraborty, he spoke about quantum computing, a game changer for Indian startups, and Professor Sandeep K. Shukla spoke about cybersecurity challenges for startups in the age of AI. Now, we are really grateful to both the speakers for giving their time to share their expertise before a huge number of participants with 170 plus participants from various institutions across the country. So in spite of their busy schedule, they were able to give time to us. We are really grateful to both the speakers. I'm really thankful. Thanks to both the speakers. Thanks a lot. And also we are very thankful to all the participants for making the session interactive by asking good number of questions. So we really thank to all the participants. And so before we end, let us give a small brief. Tomorrow we have another two very interesting sessions, just like today, by another two eminent speakers, Mr. Turjo N. Chaudhary from EY, who will speak about supercomputing for big data, the next frontier for startups, and another speaker, eminent speaker, Dr. Orpita Kormukar from Wipro Limited, who will enlighten us on ethical AI guidelines for startups in India. So I request all the participants, just as today you have shown your enthusiasm to ask questions and listen attentively, the same enthusiasm is expected for tomorrow also. We are really grateful to participants for being with us, for associating with us for the past 4 days, and the same thing we expect for the next 2 days also. So with this note and with permission from our coordinator Subroto Das sir and from our Professor Dubashish sir, Principal sir, I would like to end this day. So sir,
thank you. And Sandeep sir, Professor Amlan Chakraborty has extended his like regards to you. Thank you, sir. Okay. Sir, we can close the session.
Okay, so with I call it a day. So a very good night to all the participants. Tomorrow, let us meet again. Let us join again with another interesting sessions. Thank you, all of you. Good night, all of you. Thanks.
Just a
Thanks.
request, as other days,
Okay,
please
okay.
provide the feedback today. Okay, we will provide the links shortly, and please give the feedback by today. Okay, thank you all. See you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you all. Good night, all.